calls me googly eyes.
And you know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. My whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Next.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
Hey, here we go. Tuesday, April 19th. That sound familiar? It should, because this is the day of the big New York primary. Hello, everybody. Good to see you today. It's the Bill Press Show coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital, and our studio right here on Capitol Hill. 3 hours of the latest news, our best guests, and your calls. Remember, it's a two-way street. We want to hear from you at 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number. Get it off your chest. Let us know what you think about the issues of the day, or just send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show, or on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Yes, in that big New York primary, it's the biggest pot of delegate gold that we've seen yet in the primary season. 95 delegates up for grabs among Republicans, 291 among Democrats. It looks like Donald Trump is going to win big, perhaps big enough to win all statewide delegates and maybe most of the congressional districts in New York State. And clearly New York is Hillary territory. She's expected to win there. The big question is, will Bernie Sanders be able to close the margin down to less than 10 points, or if he's within 5 points, that's still a big victory for Bernie Sanders. Meanwhile, President Obama ready to take off for a sort of farewell journey to three of our allies. He is going first to Saudi Arabia, where things are a little tense over the Iran nuclear deal. He moves on to Germany. Angela Merkel probably is number one foreign leader friend. And then on to London, where things are also tense with David Cameron. And the Supreme Court yesterday hearing arguments on President Obama's executive actions on immigration. All of that coming up right here on The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All eyes on New York for the great big pot of gold, the biggest number of delegates up so far in the primary season. It's today. Hello, everybody. Tuesday, April 19, the Bill Press Show. Here we go. So good to see you today as we get started here on 3 hours of nothing but the latest news, our commentary, your comments, and our guest reaction as well. It's all coming at you on your local progressive talk radio station and also coming at you on Free Speech TV. So good to see you today. Thank you for joining us here for another edition of the Bill Press Show, a very special edition. New York, New York. If you can win it here, you can win it anywhere, as they might say. Yeah, and we'll find out. It's been a battle right down to the wire for Donald Trump and Ted Cruz and John Kasich on the Republican side, and, of course, for Hillary and Bernie on the Democratic side. We look forward to getting your comments on what you think we might see today. 866-55-PRESS is our toll-free number, of course. And we want to hear from you, either on the phone or give us a call. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show or on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Team Press in place today, ready to serve you, if you please. Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson. Hello, guys.
Hey, hey.
Hey, good morning.
Everything good?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Here we are.
All right.
Big day.
Very exciting. Big day. Ray Rogers here to take your calls. Remember, it's easy. Give us a call. 866-55-PRESS. Let us know what you think about the big doings today, the political doings in New York or anywhere else. And Cyprian Bolding on the job as our video.
Rise and shine, Bill.
What? Who gave him a microphone?
I never know what to expect with Seth.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Now, save the rise and shine till tomorrow morning. I'll need it tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
After being tonight on CNN until 2 a.m. with the coverage from New York. Indeed. Remember the debate? I was there sitting watching the debate last week, and Bernie Sanders was asked some question. He said, well, you don't do this, but here's what you do, which I think is grammatically correct. You do not do this, but you do this.
I think that's right.
But when you say it, you do, right? Snickers because do, right? Well,
good old-fashioned potty joke.
Do the do.
Exactly, like if you're in the third grade, which is sort of the intellectual level of the Stephen Colbert Show at points. He picked it up and had a little fun with it last night.
And you certainly don't phase nuclear out tomorrow, but this is what you do.
Yeah.
What you do.
Also, I'd like to point out, you said do. Am I right about that?
Do.
Oh, yes, you did. And it really made Bernie seem presidential. In fact, in that debate, he reminded me of JFK.
Ask not what your country can do for you.
Oh, no.
Ask what you can do for your country.
No. Just as true today. Just That's true.
great.
Today.
That was very good. Very good. Very clever.
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
That's not what your country can do for you. Yes, indeed. Well, on Tuesday, we love Tuesdays around here for a lot of reasons. Of course, the two of them being Arthur Delaney from Huffington Post and Igor Volsky from Think Progress. They will both be here to join the fun. We'll also be talking with reporters from CNN and Politico and Elizabeth Wydra from the Center for Constitutional Accountability on the big Supreme Court arguments yesterday on immigration reform. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. Just a couple of other stories making news. Well, another day, another band has canceled their performance in North Carolina today. It is Pearl Jam. They were supposed to be playing in Raleigh, North Carolina tomorrow, but they put out a statement saying that HB2 is, quote, a despicable piece of legislation that encourages discrimination against an entire group of American citizens. We want America to be a place where no one can be turned away from a business because of who they love or fired from a job for who they are, end quote. That is what Pearl Jam wrote about their concert. Also, the rock band Boston announced that they are canceling 3 shows in the state. So 2 more bands jumping on the boycotting of North Carolina.
you know, when are they going to get the message, right?
You know, they're going to keep losing money. They're going to keep pissing people off.
But the NBA announced that
they are going to keep it there. Yeah, they are going to keep the All-Star game there next season. Bummer. Houston, Texas, man, it is raining in a bad way. Floods all across Texas, but specifically in Houston. Flash floods to eastern and southern Texas. As of now, 20 inches of rain have swamped Houston. 5 people have died. Ooh. A lot of these, again, we say this every time that you see flooding. If you see high water, do not drive into the high water. It's an easy way to get your car stuck. You can't get out of your car and you will drown. That's the situation there, according to Harris County Police. And especially if there's a barricade there. For God's sake, don't drive around the barricade. People have done that.
No, I know.
But yeah, lots and lots and lots of flooding there. Please be safe in Houston.
Pretty wild footage yesterday of a reporter rescuing a guy who went right into the water. And
Actually, I just saw it on TV. Actually.
All over the news yesterday.
It was crazy. And when you take a look at who has spent the most time on Sunday TV shows, the cable news shows on Sunday, who has the most appearances?
John McCain.
John McCain? John McCain is actually hasn't really done a lot this year. This is specifically this year and the election season, yeah.
Well, it's got to be Trump.
Trump is number 2. He has had 70 appearances in this election season.
Number 1?
Number 1. I'll say this. This person has 1 more media appearance than Donald Trump.
Oh. Hillary?
Bernie Sanders.
Bernie
Sanders has made 71 appearances on the Sunday shows. Donald Trump has made 70. It's a pretty big drop-off after that, by the way. Yeah. John Kasich at 49, Marco Rubio at 36.
I find that hard to believe, actually, but...
Paul Singer, our friend from USA Today, tracking this. We'll see if we can get the data.
I think Trump's number should be cut in half, though, because almost all of those were phone interviews. They don't count for a full interview, in my mind.
That's a good point.
I trust Paul Singer's reporting.
There are the dates here. Meet the Press, State of the Union this week, Fox News Sunday, all the different dates. So, yeah.
All right, here we go. Yes, today is the big day. By the way, there is a little bit of breaking news. I just wanted to notice. We'll talk to Igor Volsky about a little bit later in the program. But the Pentagon announcing today, I just saw it flash across the cables up here, that the United States is sending 200 more troops to Iraq and 8 Apache helicopters.
No troops on the ground, though.
No troops on the ground. No. Of course, they're going to deny these are combat troops. But come on, all right? So anybody who thinks that the war in Iraq is over, not so. We now have 4,000 American troops on the ground. With these 200, brings us up to 4,000, and all kinds of military equipment, including these 8 Apache helicopters. And that may or may not be an issue in the next primary, the next series of primaries, which are next Tuesday, April 26th, with some big states, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New Jersey, among others.
Maryland is one.
Maryland, right? There's another big one. That's all next week. And in the conversations leading up to those primaries, we might hear some more talk about the situation in Iraq. But for today, it is voting day in New York. Big prize of delegates on both sides. And love to get your take, whether you live in New York or not. You've been watching the coverage as to what we might expect. 866-55-PRESS, you know our toll-free number. 291 delegates up for grabs on the Democratic side, which are, of course, are given out proportionately. And 95 delegates at stake for Republicans, which are given out by a weird formula. If you win, there are 14 statewide, and if you win 50% plus one in the overall voting, you get all 14 statewide delegates, and then each congressional district gets 3 delegates. So if you win every congressional district and you get more than 50%, you get all 95 delegates. And it's predicted that, or I wouldn't say predicted, but some people believe that Donald Trump has enough of a lead in New York that he could possibly walk away with all 95 delegates. Certainly, he stands ready to get the majority of them. And then the question is, if he does that well in New York, and then next week, when he looks at New Jersey and Connecticut and Pennsylvania, if he wraps those up too, the Northeast is certainly his territory. Is he going to be able to take that all the way to the convention? For his part, yesterday, Donald Trump talked again. He was up in Buffalo last night that's one of the congressional districts he really wants to do well in. There are 2 or 3 up in that area. And of course, Donald Trump, was talking about his buddy, Lion Ted.
When a guy like Lion Ted Cruz talks about New York values, folks, those are the values that we want to talk about.
Mm-hmm. In fact, I thought Trump was good here. If you have that clip, Jamie, he talked about, here's what the New York values are. Go back to September 11.
The people in the towers who helped rescue each other, and those that perished, knowing that if they left earlier, they could have gotten out. They didn't want to do it. They stayed. They helped other people. Those are New York values.
He's done that several times. He invokes the heroes of September 11. Now, Ted Cruz says, well, look, Donald may get a lot of delegates today, but I'm also going to have a lot of delegates, and we're going to battle it out in Cleveland.
I'll have a ton of delegates. He'll have a ton of delegates. And it's going to be a battle in Cleveland to see who can get to a majority. You can't get the nomination without earning a majority of the delegates elected by the people.
There you go. Yeah. All right. So
it's called moving the goalposts.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it works. It is called moving the goalposts.
On the Republican side, if Donald Trump, as expected, wins big in New York today and takes all of the vast majority of the delegates, does he have a glide path to get to that 1,237 he needs before Cleveland? 866-55-PRESS, or do you think it'll be an open convention? On the Democratic side, it's been hard fought right down to the end. Was hard fought right down to the end. And 2 polls of interest came out yesterday. One, the average of polls in New York show that Hillary Clinton has a double-digit lead, about 12 points ahead of Bernie Sanders. On the national level, for the first time, the Wall Street Journal poll showed Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders basically tied. Hillary Clinton at 48% and Bernie Sanders at 46%, which is astounding. To think that a year ago, nobody knew who Bernie was. Nobody gave him a chance. We were all talking about the inevitable nomination of Hillary Clinton. And here it is a year later, And she and Bernie are tied nationwide. In New York now, again, let's focus on New York tomorrow, 291 delegates. Hillary, I think, showing a little smugness, says, oh, I'm going to wrap it up.
I am hoping to do really well tomorrow. I'm hoping to wrap up the Democratic nomination.
Now, even if she were to win, which she won't, all 291 delegates today, she's not going to wrap it up. That'll be a huge boost. It's not going to get her to 1,237. I'm sorry, not 1,237. She needs. I always
it's
forget
over
that
2,000.
It's over 2,000
with the super delegates and all that
right.
stuff. Yeah.
And Bernie Sanders says, "Look, you know what it comes down to? It comes down to what it has come down to for him in every win. People got to get out to vote."
We have won 8 out of the last 9 caucuses and primaries. And if we get a large voter turnout tomorrow, we're going to win here in New York.
All right, so could Bernie possibly pull off an upset in New York, or will it be a Hillary landslide? And Donald Trump, can he win enough delegates in New York to put him on the glide path to the Republican nomination? Big day, New York State. Let's talk about it. What do you expect? 8-6 from what you've seen from the coverage. Where is it going? 866-55-PRESS. That's our toll-free number here on this Tuesday, April 19, The Bill Press Show.
Your place to talk about the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver.
Nice.
The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you're beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
"26 minutes after the hour, Arthur Delaney stepping in at the half hour from Huffington Post. One thing to remember as we wait for the returns from New York this evening is there's no doubt about it, and the Sanders campaign knows this. This is Hillary Clinton territory, all right, for a lot of reasons. Number one, she lives there. It's number two, she was elected senator there twice, elected and reelected senator from New York. Number three, it's a closed primary, right? Only Democrats can vote. Bernie does best when independents are able to vote. And independents, if they wanted to vote in this Democratic primary, get this, they would have had to have registered last October, right? So there's no doubt the deck is stacked against Bernie. Bernie does best when, and by the way, the Democratic Party does best when independents can come out and vote. They can't in New York. Not a good system. So with those kind of obstacles, Bernie Sanders will do the best he can. Here's Alex calling from out in Chicago. What do you say, Alex?
Hey, Bill. Thanks for taking my call.
Yeah.
Hey, in addition to it being a closed primary and folks having to have registered as Democrats back in October, it's been reported in the Nation and various other places that there is a class action lawsuit brought by hundreds of New Yorkers who've had their registrations changed from Democrat to unaffiliated or Republican without their permission. As many as 3.2 million voters have had their registrations changed.
Yeah.
This kind of thing happened in Arizona as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It seems like it could be some intentional suppression.
Well, I got to tell you, Alex, I'm glad you raised a point because there are going to be a lot of questions, I think, about the state rules on primary and some of these closed primaries. A very undemocratic way.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek, Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go now at 33 minutes after the hour. It is the Bill Press Show. Yes, indeed. Coming to you live from Washington, D.C. Our studio on Capitol Hill, where we're brought to you today by the International Brotherhood of Teamsters. We all live better because of the good work of the members of the Teamsters Union, men and women together under President James Hoffa. Check out their website for more information at teamster.org. And here he is on a Tuesday, the man you're waiting for, Arthur Delaney from Huffington Post, stepping in today with his take on all the news of the day. Hello, Arthur.
Good morning.
Have you voted in New York yet this morning?
What?
Can't you vote online?
That is such a confusing
What?
Who?
All right, your man. You've been doing a lot of coverage of Donald Trump for Huffington Post. He's not had a good couple of weeks in terms of the delegate chase.
Right.
Ted Cruz kind of running circles around him in these smaller states and in organization. But this is the biggest pot of gold yet in the delegate battle, and it's his home state. Are you going to wrap it up? Not wrap it up meaning the nomination, but in terms of the primary?
He's going to win, no doubt about it, but the polls show he could potentially win big enough to capture all the state's delegates, and that would be a tonic for him after the last 2 weeks in which like a cartoon character, like Yosemite Sam. He's being foiled by Bugs Bunny, Ted Cruz, who is just like totally outsmarting him on delegates.
Yeah, it looks that way. And then when you look in the next couple of weeks, it's not really good territory for Ted Cruz. I mean, we go from New York to next Tuesday. We were just talking New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania. Maryland, who knows? Ted Cruz might be able to do well in Republican parts of Maryland. But those other states should also be good territory for Donald Trump.
That's right. And if he wins more than 55% of the remaining delegates, that's it. He could win this thing before the convention. It's really not that clear whether he will.
I'm still back
it's
now.
Totally
I'm back
possible.
to thinking that he will have the delegates he needs before Cleveland.
No, because we have always known what the map looked like, right? Hasn't the analysis of
it's still possible.
the likelihood of a contested convention, the upcoming contests have been baked into that.
The likelihood has increased of a contested convention, but Donald Trump could still get enough delegates.
I also think that a lot of people expected his numbers to go down a little bit and maybe still win New York, but I mean, if he wins New York outright, that's huge. Or California, right? Like, I think a lot of people, when they saw him start to take some hits a couple weeks ago, he's still going to win New York, but it would be a lot closer. I mean, he's still far and away going to win New York by all polling. Like, he's 40 points ahead.
He has New York values. It's true.
Yeah.
Ted Cruz does not.
No.
As he himself made clear.
Right. So another story that you've been reporting on, and we have talked about here several times on your visits, is Flint, Michigan. I mean, you were way out in front of Flint before anybody else paid any attention to it. Now the embattled governor of Michigan, Rick Snyder, who still refuses kind of to take any accountability for what happened to Flint.
He said he blew it. Does that count?
Yeah, he's still in office.
You want his head? You want him beheaded?
Yes. Yeah. So he made a surprising announcement yesterday that indicates maybe everything's all fine now. Here he is.
We're going to start drinking that tonight and do that for the next 30 days when I'm at work and at home.
Yeah, going to start drinking nothing but Flint water for the next 30 days.
Right, which is interesting because he doesn't live in Flint. So he's going to have to import the Flint water. But there's actually a serious and very legitimate reason for him to say this.
What? Do you really think he's going to take water out of the tap, somebody's kitchen sink in Flint, and drink it?
This is, however, filtered water, filtered with a National Science Foundation certified filter that removes the lead. Because we know from testing by the state, EPA, and independent groups that the water is officially unsafe still, above the federal limit for the amount of lead that it can have. However, if you have one of these filters, that will remove the lead. Now, here's why it's important.
Have these filters been distributed to homes in Flint and businesses?
Oh, absolutely.
In Flint?
You saw the bottled water being distributed, right? Filters were too.
Oh,
and
okay.
EPA has tested, they have been shown to be effective most of the time, unless you're one of the unlucky homes that had so much lead in your water that it was essentially toxic waste.
And you don't have to boil the water.
You can't boil lead out of the water.
Oh.
You can only filter it out. So anyway, the reason he's doing this is that water use in Flint has been so low and reduced because people aren't drinking it, that it's taking much longer than it otherwise would to get the pipes recoated so that it's safer again.
You can't win for losing.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So Rick Snyder and the independent scientists who blew the whistle are saying we need people in Flint to be running their taps. So if you have a filter, he's saying use the water, or at least open your faucets. And so that's the idea here. If they speed up water usage, it will speed up the rate at which the water overall becomes safe again.
So he's flush it out, basically.
Yeah, you've got to flush it out, and having water coursing through the pipes makes the pipe safer because it builds up this interior coating called scale on the inside of the pipes that prevents the water from touching the lead.
Well, the image that I have, though, is, and I'm glad you pointed it out, that Rick Snyder, every day, right, there's going to be this little van from Flint up to the governor's mansion, with several of those, like the bottles we get delivered here used to, right?
Yeah.
Are full of Flint water.
Now, he filled up some jugs.
Yeah.
At somebody's house. So that's what he's going to drink. I mean, that's a good PR move. And, that you should drink it, Rick Snyder, because you made it.
Yeah, you made it.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think that looks a little like accountability, although it is filtered water. I mean, it would be really inadvisable to drink unfiltered Flint water. You're literally not supposed to do that. It's dangerous.
Okay. Another story that caught our attention, a candidate for Congress.
Yes.
Invoking FDR, going back to the New Deal.
Right. Well, Zephyr Teachout, who you may remember from
she ran
New York's gubernatorial
against
campaign.
Cuomo.
Cuomo, yeah.
Right.
Now she's running for Congress.
Progressive, big progressive.
Yeah, a seat opened up where she happens to live. And she's running for Congress on this platform of going after big cable, which is interesting. It just so happened there was the Verizon workers going on strike last week.
Right.
And Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders were saying, wow, we embrace you. Bernie addressed the workers at a rally. Zephyr Teachout, this is her whole campaign.
He was back to the communication workers yesterday.
Right. So what she's saying is having these monopolistic cable companies like Verizon, which of course owns Huffington Post, she says it's bad for consumers but also workers. And that the U.S.
Or Comcast.
Right, exactly. So
which we're stuck with in Washington.
Ugh.
She's got a sort of trust-busting approach to that. Not exactly the same thing, but using existing laws to scrutinize huge concentration. And also she compares an effort to expand broadband access in rural areas to rural electrification. Mm-hmm. Which FDR spearheaded in the 1930s and which was really effective in bringing electricity to farms acroross the country. It's not the perfect comparison, but it really is not that bad.
Not bad. No, not that bad. And which rural electrification LBJ spearheaded in the hills of Texas. Too,
absolutely.
Which Robert Caro talks about in his great book. I think it's the first of the LBJ books. But I got to tell you, first of all, anybody, just the name, Zephyr Teachout. I mean, how can you not support somebody with that name? Isn't it? It's a great name.
Yeah.
But the other thing, it is.
Yeah.
Zephyr. How many Zephyrs do you know?
None.
Yeah.
How many Teachouts? Put them together.
How
that's
many
a winner.
Teachouts, right?
Yeah.
The other thing about Zephyr Teachout that when you say the name, first, so I get this all the time.
Sounds like a superhero name.
I got it twice yesterday on CNN. People said, Hillary's raising money for other Democrats and Bernie Sanders isn't raising money for anybody. And I said, listen, wait a minute. I just have to tell you, as a Bernie Sanders supporter, I get probably 3 emails a day from the Sanders campaign asking me to give money to other progressive candidates. And one of them is always Zephyr Teachout.
Yes. I would say she's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
A Sanders-type candidate, you might say.
Yeah. A great progressive. I don't know whether he supported her for governor against Cuomo, but he's certainly supporting her for Congress and helping raise money for her.
Yeah.
So does she have a chance? Do you know?
You know what? I don't know if there's a lot of polling out of there, but her campaign against Cuomo was surprisingly successful. So I would be inclined to say yes, she's got a great chance.
All right. And news on another front on the Democratic primary in the state of Maryland. Arthur Delaney reporting on that as well. We got lots to talk about today. So take a quick break. Invite you to join the conversation at 8655-PRESS. You can challenge Arthur on anything that he's ever said or written. And that's a lot of territory.
Hold me accountable.
That's it. That's right. So President Obama says. Now Arthur says that. 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back.
Follow us on Twitter at BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
Streaming live video right now at youtube.com/TawkrTV. That's TAWKR-TV. This is The Bill Press Show.
Here we go now at 12 minutes before the top of the hour. Arthur's doppelganger, Igor Volsky, coming up at the top of the next hour, of course. Arthur here. Peter Ogburn in studio with us as well. Of course, I just want you both to know that I did a column this week on... my Hill column today is on release of the Saudi papers at thehill.com. But my Chicago Tribune column was on the HB2, the law down in North Carolina, to keep transgender people out of the wrong bathroom. Right?
Everyone's canceling their concerts there.
Yeah, another concert canceled today.
Pearl Jam was supposed to play tomorrow.
Right.
They canceled yesterday.
Yeah. And I pointed out that I thought that these religious zealots down there they can't hide mask their hatred in the name of religion. Just wanted to share this little email from Marcia Langdon, whoever she is, who says just simply, Bill Press, you suck. Your show sucks. Your beliefs suck. And your attitude sucks.
Wow.
By the way, your interpretation of the Bible sucks too.
Go Flyers.
Yeah. Perfect.
Go Eagles.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Look, at least you're reaching them, As long as you get a response.
Hearts and minds.
Yeah, as long as you're getting a response.
Boy, did she feel better after she sent that email.
She
right?
probably really did.
Yeah.
If you've ever sent one of those emails, feels amazing.
If she feels good after sending that email, imagine how she feels after you read it on air.
Idiot. What's going on with Republican lobbyists getting involved on the Democratic side of the Maryland primary?
I have the strangest story of the week.
Oh, all right.
And that's what it's about. The Maryland Senate primary between Donna Edwards.
We can start a new feature of the show.
Sure.
The strangest story of the week.
This is it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Donna Edwards, Democratic Congresswoman, is running for the open Maryland Senate seat being vacated by Barbara Mikulski.
Up against Chris Van Hollen.
Right. Senior member of House Democratic leadership.
Yes.
So, this Republican lobbyist named Sam Gadaldig is giving money to Edwards because he says the Senate needs more diversity. Edwards is African American, Van Hollen is white. The lobbyist is white, but he thinks the Senate would function better, or so he says, if it had more black Democrats, more minority Democrats. And he's given Donna Edwards $800, which is a significant amount of money. Her campaign needs money because Van Hollen's has more. And this is just a really unusual situation.
Has he, like, what do they call that? When they raise a lot of money for bundled money for her? No, or
I don't think he's bundled money. These are individual contributions just from him. He gave her $200.
Did you talk to him? Is that what he said?
Oh,
That's
yeah. Yeah. And he's a guy who emails reporters. He thinks that when you see these stories about, the Republicans have another congressional hearing panel that's just a bunch of white men, it drives him crazy that the media and Democrats play this identity politics game when he thinks that they are mostly white men as well. For instance, your newsrooms don't have a whole lot of diversity, so he thinks we're giant hypocrites.
I smell a rat.
Right? Yeah,
I smell a rat. I think there's something going on here. He thinks that, I'm not sure he's right, but maybe he thinks that Donna Edwards would be easier to beat than Chris Van Hollen, so he's giving money to her, so he would get the weaker Democratic candidate. By the way, I think if he thinks that, he's wrong. But
I don't think that's it. Just because who's going to beat either of them on the Republican side?
I don't know who the Republican.
I think it's going to be one. It's going to be Edwards or Van Hollen. Oh yes, and they're in a very close race.
I know. Yeah. They are.
So this is significant. Yeah.
And by the way, decided a week from today.
Yeah, a week from today.
Yeah, it's the Maryland primary.
But I wondered if people would be suspicious of this, and sure, some of the commenters were, but for the most part, it hasn't become a big deal. The Edwards campaign told us, we don't have any reaction to this person, but we do agree that the Senate needs more diversity, and someone with Edwards' perspective would be.
And they took his money and they didn't send it back.
No.
Right.
They need the money.
All right. Now, the biggest question is your boss is out with a new book, Arianna Huffington, all about sleep and the importance of sleep. I want to know, did she give everybody at Huffington Post a copy of her book?
Not yet.
Oh, all right. That's.
But that could happen.
Well, I'm just suggesting that maybe that she should.
Well, we do get to take naps.
What is your stance? What is your stance on sleep?
I'm pro sleep.
Pro sleep.
Yeah, I sleep every day.
You do have nap rooms at Huffington Post, right?
Yes.
Let's be clear. Any room is a nap room.
I know.
Do you have to? How's it work? Do you have to sign up for it ahead of time?
No. I sleep in the yoga room.
But I mean, what if somebody?
I do corpse pose.
What if somebody? What if somebody else is already there?
We're adults. No, we'll work it out. We're not children just because we have a nap room. Right. We're gonna fight over who gets the nap room.
Just because we take naps,
we're
at work doesn't mean we're children.
Yeah, we'll sort it out.
All right.
I don't know how.
All right. We covered all the important issues. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you for having me. All right. We'll be right back.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
For my 6th birthday, my grandpa gave me a Rubik's Cube. I'll always be able to remember its edges, hold it in my hands, heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I remember him telling me about it. How Rubik's Cube has 43 quintillion, 252 quadrillion, 3 trillion, 274 billion, 489,856,000 possibilities. He told me it can be really confusing sometimes. But to look at the center squares as a reminder of what color each side should be. Shift. We're celebrating his 50th wedding anniversary. He and Grandma are dancing a dance that only fragile legs and wrinkled hands know how to. That type of happiness took him 70 years to earn. The white side of the cube is solved. Shift. He tells me about how he met Grandma. His college friends had a sunset picnic. She was there, as beautiful as an unsolved puzzle. She was a red-headed scramble on an orange tile sky. Shift. The walls of the hospital are blue. The nurses explain that his memories had become jumbled. Strangers in family portraits, pictures with mismatched faces. Alzheimer's has made his mind into a Rubik's Cube. Shift. He's a highway patrolman. His car is white. No, it's blue. He worked there for 30 years. Some nights he still does. Time is a complicated algorithm. Shift. The pills he holds are yellow and red and green. The weight of their color causes his hand to drop. I try to shift his tiles back into place, but people don't have center squares. His mind is a hospital bed divided by 0. Shift. My sister's wedding is white, but he doesn't know why. Shift. World War II is every color. The South Pacific is blue. The islands are green. There is so much red. Shift. Grandpa, table, cube, name, scramble, California, guitar, grapefruit, highway, wedding bell, war, stick shift rifles, South Pacific mirrors. Shift, 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 shift. The temperature of his hands is blue. Death is colorless. I will always remember his edges. Hold him in my hands. Heft the weight of an overwhelming problem. I was unable to attend his funeral. I never found out the algorithm to solve him. A Rubik's Cube has over 43 quintillion possibilities. A casket only has one.
This is the Bill Press Show.
And Igor Volsky at the top of the next hour.
Well, there was a big protest on the steps of the U.S. Capitol yesterday, the Democracy Awakening protest that we had talked about, and it was a big protest. 300 people were arrested at the protest at the U.S. Capitol yesterday, and 2 of those people were Ben Cohen and Jerry Greenfield of Ben and Jerry's, who went from our studio to the protest yesterday and got arrested.
They said that was their goal. I'm glad they met their goal, and they left behind this beautiful, beautiful neon Bernie sign.
Bernie sign, yes indeed.
Go Ben and Jerry.
This
Great
is the Bill Press Show.
For Mike Brown. I'm sick of writing this poem, but bring the boy. His new name, his same old body, ordinary black dead thing, bring him. And we will mourn until we forget what we are mourning. And isn't that what being black is about? Not the joy of it, but the feeling when you're looking at your child, turn your head, then poof, no more child. That feeling, that's black. Think, once a white girl was kidnapped, and that's the Trojan War. Later, up the block, Troy got shot, and that was Tuesday. Are we not worthy of a city of ash, of 1,000 ships launched because we are missed? I demand a war to bring the black boy back, no matter what his name is this time. I at least demand a song. A song will do. or ahead.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
Enough. Enough.
Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now.
As a mom.
As a dad, as a friend, as a husband,
As a wife.
as an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time. Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
New York, New York, it's a big primary today. 95 delegates for Republicans, 291 for Democrats. And this could be a deciding primary for both parties. Hello, everybody. How about it? It's Tuesday, April 19. Good to see you today. And this is it, The Bill Press Show. Live from our nation's capital and our studio on Capitol Hill, just down the street from the United States Capitol building, in the shadow of the Capitol Dome, as we like to say. Here with you with the news of the day, whether it's happening here in Washington, around the country, around the globe. We've got it covered. We'll tell you what's going on. You tell us what you think about it all, and you know how to do so by now. 866-55-PRESS, our toll-free number. Give us a holler or send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show, on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. And we know why you're tuned in at this hour, of course. But he's not sitting in this chair today. We made him sit across the table as a guest today. Prince Igor here for his weekly visit.
Good morning, Bill.
Hello.
By the way, I
Igor.
always
How
lurk in
are
the
you?
shadows of the Capitol and other shadows.
Oh, you
I'm excited to come out here every Tuesday.
You had fun last
into
week?
the light. Yes, very much so. Still trying to talk.
I know.
After my big opportunity here.
Did you lose your voice?
In the last few seconds, apparently.
all of us.
Gone, yeah.
I know. Peter Ogburn and Jamie Benson here as always. Hello. Ray Rogers on the phones at 866-55-PRESS, and Cyprian Bolding here. Our videographer on the job, and this beautiful shot of the Capitol behind us
It's
here.
very pretty.
The daylight coming up and looking good.
Beautiful day so far.
Plus, we also have, in terms of video, or not video necessarily, but decor in the studio, this neon sign, the Bernie Sanders sign that Ben and Jerry left behind yesterday. They told us, I said, why are you in town? They said, we came to town to get arrested.
I heard they got arrested,
They were here for Democracy Awakening, and they told us they were going to leave. Are you going to put the flash?
Yeah.
Party sign. It is a party sign.
Not only does it do this, you can also get it to flame.
There you go.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah. They make these in Vermont, and they sell them online, Etsy.com.
Yeah, on Etsy. You can get them on Etsy.
They're made by volunteers up in Vermont.
There you go.
At any rate, when they left here, they said they were going to go get arrested, and
they did. And they did.
Yeah.
Look at that.
We're glad they
it's good they left the swag here. I mean, you don't want that the police.
We're glad
that's right. That could be down at the
We're glad they
lockup.
waited to get arrested, that the police didn't charge into the studio. We weren't sure when they said they were going to get arrested.
Although it'd look nice in a jail cell. I mean, really bring some light and some nice decor.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, I mentioned the New York primary today, and the New Yorkers, I mean, if you saw that, and I was there, that crowd at the debate last Thursday night, a pretty raucous crowd, right? And the people in New York, they just sort of, they tell you what they think about you. As Ted Cruz discovered yesterday, he went on the local Fox station, local Fox 5, and Rosanna Scotto really won't let him forget his comments about New York values.
But I have to say, as a New Yorker, I'm still offended. And I think that if you think long and hard about it...
Are you a Democrat?
I'm an independent.
Do you vote Democrat? Did you vote for Bill de Blasio?
She doesn't.
But she can't comment.
But I will tell you this. You've gotten so much flack about New York values in New York. You're not, at this point, going to win New York.
Boom. Lays it out, baby.
Well, he said that he thinks that actually upstate New York has good values. It's really downtown New York City.
You know,
that's
what
the
a
problem.
dumb defense, too. Are you a Democrat? Do you vote Democrat?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I mean, in that context, it really doesn't matter.
She basically says, you loser, you're going to lose. Get out of here. All right, Igor with us. And then at the half hour, we're going to be talking with Annie Carney from Politico. We'll get her take on what to expect out of New York. But first...
This is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. Just a couple of other stories making news. Yesterday, the 100th Pulitzer Prizes were announced.
I heard about this.
100th issuing of the Pulitzer Prize. And a friend of the show, Wes Lowry from the Washington Post, was one of the winners. The Post won for its team coverage of Fatal Force. It's a database where they detailed 990 people who were killed by police in 2015. That was a big, big project that a lot of people worked on. As Wes Lowry tweeted yesterday, 60-plus journalists chronicled 990-plus police shootings, honored to have played a part and inspired by my WAPO colleagues. Also, some winners in the nonfiction category. Joby Warwick for his book Black Flags, The Rise of ISIS. Mm-hmm. Also, a story from the AP about fishermen that were essentially slaves, enslaved fishermen working in different parts of the world. And also, Lin-Manuel Miranda won for Hamilton.
Hamilton,
yeah,
right.
I didn't know they gave away.
The other one I wanted to mention.
Yeah, go ahead.
A book about surfing that's gotten a lot of attention.
Oh, wow.
Both of our sons have read it and loved it. It's called Barbarian Days, A Surfing Life by William Finnegan, who was a writer for New Yorker, I believe.
Oh, cool.
Oh.
Yeah. And it's I read first part of it. It's really a great book. So.
Nice.
Well, if you ever let me go on vacation, I'd like to do some stuff. Goodness.
Yeah, Bill. Comcast let us into their fourth quarter report yesterday. They released their
Finally.
numbers. Right, yeah. They released their numbers for the fourth quarter report for 2015, and they said that they ended 2015 with 22.3 million subscribers to Comcast.
I am one of them now. I subscribed to Comcast.
I'm sorry to hear that.
So are we.
I'm sorry to hear that. We are, because there's no other option here in the studio. We have to have that. But here's what's interesting. Netflix also unveiled their shareholder report for quarter four, and they listed the number of people subscribed to Netflix.
Yeah.
44.7 million people. In other words, that is 100% more. I mean, that is a 100.2% more than Comcast.
But the Netflix
doubled.
prices are about to go up 25%.
They're about to go up, yeah.
25%. I also subscribe
Well,
to
it's
Netflix.
not necessary. I mean, if you had the $7.99 option a while back, you were sort of grandfathered in. And so it's been $9.99 for a while now, but if you got it at $7.99, you kept paying.
Well, it's about 17 million people who are going to be affected, Peter.
That's a lot. No, that's a lot. That's almost half. Yeah, that's a big deal. And playoff hockey. I know we don't talk a lot of hockey here.
Love me some hockey. I've been to hockey games.
Have
yes,
you?
I have.
And
on
you
the
haven't
ice,
been to a baseball
practically
game?
On the ice.
You've been to a hockey game, but
It's
you haven't.
the Russian
you're
in
right.
me. It's the Russian in me.
That makes a lot of sense. Well, the Capitals were playing in Philadelphia, Game 3 of their playoff series with the Flyers, and it was pretty ugly. It was a pretty ugly game. It was, as this write-up says for SB Nation, it was pretty much all what we expected, Philadelphia being nasty. There were several stops in the game because of fans interrupting, and a couple of fights in the middle of the game. It didn't matter for the Capitals, though. They ended up winning 6-1 was the final score, an utter blowout. They now take a 3-0 lead in that series. One more game will put it away for the Capitals.
For hockey, that's a big score.
That's a huge score.
Yeah. Yes, we thank you. So, Igor, an announcement this morning from the Defense Department that the war that presumably had ended, the Iraq War, seems to still go on for this country, the United States presence in Iraq, and we are sending 200 additional troops and 8 Apache helicopters. Yeah. I thought this war ended a couple of years ago.
Well, he's been trying to kind of bring it down from the thousands of American forces who are there, which the president has in that respect. But it's still a big problem. It still poses a big threat to the United States in terms of the base it could provide to ISIS and other terrorist groups. And so certainly the president's military advisors are telling him you have to keep some kind of American presence in that area so they could assist Iraqis, so they could assist other forces in combating ISIS. And so the hope certainly is...
So these are combat troops?
Well, I don't know if they would technically describe them as combat troops. I don't think they engage in the physical combat. I think they advise Iraqi combat troops and help train those troops.
I think they would go out of their way to insist they were not.
Oh, they would insist that. I mean, look, you can label them whatever you want. I do think it's true that the forces are no longer like they did during the 2 weeks of the Iraq crisis and then during the surge under George W. Bush. They're not fighting actively on the ground, opposition forces. I think they are providing support to Iraqi forces to do that kind of combat.
So the bottom line is, right, that the war in Iraq really does go on. It is
to some degree, it is going on,
right,
with certainly with American
some American
presence
support.
there. Yeah.
The war in Afghanistan is still underway, and American troops are going to be there at least through 2017, according to President Obama. And now we have American troops also in Syria fighting ISIS, flying missions again.
Yeah.
And we also know that there are forces on the ground who are, again, special ops.
Special ops. I mean, the number now is about going to be 4,000 in Iraq.
In Iraq, but I'm talking about in Syria. There are special ops on the ground in Syria too. So we have 3 wars now in the Middle East.
Yeah, there's 3 at least conflicts. I guess they would call them conflict zones with great American presence. But look, I think it's hard. It'd be hard for any president, even if Bernie Sanders was in there right now, to say we're going to completely pull out of these areas because you don't know what would happen. You don't know what kind of who would then take over if these Iraqi forces or the forces in Syria are defeated without American support. What then? Who knows?
But in his long interview in the Atlantic with Jeffrey Goldberg, the president said he'd like to pull out of the Middle East. He just thinks it's a mess.
Sure, he would.
And just get out of there and basically let them solve their own problems.
Yeah, but there's no Control-Alt-Delete. Is that even a reference people understand anymore? There's no reboot, restart. You got it. Oh, good. Good.
Right.
That you can do in this policy area. I mean, President Obama walked into kind of a conflict that was baked in by President Bush. And the next president's going to walk into, the consequences of that, which is not a completely new, but a new terrorist threat in the name of ISIS, who's in many ways different than Al-Qaeda and a lot of the predecessors. But the new president's going to have to deal with that reality. And so some of the campaign promises that are made today, the policy can end up being very different when you're actually confronted with dealing with those issues directly.
It does raise the question, though, when I read that interview in the Atlantic. I think he's right. If you look back at how much time and how many troops and how much money that we have spent trying to to deliver stability to the Middle East, under several presidents, Republican and Democrat. It's sort of been the sinkhole of American foreign policy. And what do we get for it? Right? When you think about it, where are we today?
Well, that's I think is a good point. To defend this and to make the argument that this is worth doing, you have to show some sort of progress, right? Or a real reason. Say, look, point to something. This is why we went.
This is what it was like before.
Yeah.
And this is what it's like today.
Certainly nobody's
I haven't
defending,
heard that argument.
No Democrat for sure is defending the Iraq war. But I think what the administration would say at this point is because of our actions in this area, the footprint of ISIS in Iraq and Syria has shrunk. We have killed many of their top leaders, and we have retaken key cities like Ramadi with American assistance.
Right.
And the threat there, at least, has been contained in some sense.
Right. So, yeah.
Yes, we're facing other problems.
So they pop up in
Libya
instead, and Belgium.
Yeah.
And France, and, you know.
I mean, look, it's undeniable that this is a problem and a threat that's going to be changing. Certainly, the very nature of ISIS has changed just from a year ago, 2 years ago, and you're going to have to adapt your policies to deal with that reality. But I don't think that the president's action in this area, and certainly he could have done things differently and more and sooner, is without kind of deliverables, as we call them.
Yeah. It would be pretty bold for the next American president just to say, okay, to all those countries over there, hey, guys, you got a lot of money?
Sounds like Trump.
You're on your own.
Yeah, you're on your own. Good luck.
I'm dead.
See what happens.
Sounds like Trump. That's basically what Obama said in that Atlantic interview. All right, we didn't even get to Supreme Court yesterday. Oral arguments on immigration. Let's take a quick break, and we'll talk about that when we come back here on the other side, because you can't tell everything by oral arguments. But
no, it's one thing we learned. You cannot predict a decision.
Could be rocky ground. Igor Volsky with us from, his title is, I always have to read it.
This.
Yeah. Deputy Director for the Center of American Progress Action Fund, 866-55-PRESS.
Get social with Bill Press. Like us at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
She calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
That's
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, at 26 minutes after the hour, we're going to talk to Annie Carney from Politico at the half hour. Igor Volsky here from the Center for American Progress Action Fund. Supreme Court taking a look at the arguments on the president's executive actions on immigration reform. What can we tell from the
Nothing.
response?
You can tell nothing from the oral arguments. I was so frustrated in reading the coverage, and this is, of course, the DACA case, actions the president took after the House would not take up immigration reform. And so he said, I'm going to use my executive authority to give deportation relief to certain immigrants who have been in the country for at least 5 years, don't have a criminal record, yada, yada, yada. They can have some kind of legal status to work here in the United States. And it was a tough hearing in the sense that the justices, as they usually do, asked tough, probing, sharp questions. And so then all the articles after that was like, well, Obama's program, and no chance ever. It is done. I mean, you cannot, if we learn anything from Obamacare.
Justices divided. Obama's plan.
Shockingly, the justices are divided. Who would? I mean, you could have written that before the oral arguments ever took place.
Probably did.
Yeah, pre-written, I'm sure. So you look, it's. We'll see how this case ends up. Certainly, nobody knows. You cannot predict these things. If it's remember, we're in an 8-member court. So if it's a 4-4, if it's split along those ideological lines, it goes back to the previous decision, which struck down the president's order. And it would not set a national precedent, but it would not allow the DAPA program, which is the program for parents of the Dreamers,
to go forward.
Go forward, yes.
Wow. But also, isn't the key here to see what John Roberts does, that he might go with the other side like he did on health care?
John Roberts and Justice Kennedy. To say the president
has the authority to do this.
Yeah, they are the two that I think advocates are looking to give a favorable ruling.
And the ruling, this year, we get it
this year,
right?
June.
All right.
Mark your calendar.
Who's going to win in New York? Donald Trump?
Oh, yeah, Donald and Hillary, right? That's the conventional wisdom. What do you think? What does the Bernie sign say? Is your money on Bernie?
You're just giving us the conventional
wisdom. I am
wisdom.
giving the conventional wisdom. I'm looking at the polls. What are you saying? You think Bernie's going to give an upset?
It's all up to the margin.
Oh, wow. What is that, the margin?
Put it this way. If Bernie wins, it's like Mount Vesuvius.
Erupt! This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad.
As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 He's not running for president, but he will shake hands and kiss babies. It's the Bill Press Show, your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election.
All right, at 33 minutes after the hour is the Bill Press Show. We're here in our nation's capital, where we're brought to you today by the American Federation of Government Employees, the good men and women of the AFGE under President J. David Cox, proud to work for America every day. You bet they are, and we salute them, thank them for the support of the program. Invite you to go to the website at afge.org. Yes, indeed, all eyes on New York today. The big primary, the biggest pot of delegates so far on both the Republican and the Democratic side. Annie Carney, staff reporter for Politico, has been reporting on New York and joins us on our news line this morning. Hi, Annie. Good to have you with us.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
So let's start on the Republican side. A big sweep by Donald Trump. What do we expect?
I think that's what we expect. He's from here. He's known here. Like the fact that he has is leading by so much means he's even had the luxury of not doing the retail campaigning that the other Republicans have been doing here. So yes, I think that Donald Trump has in the bag. The question is just by how much he will win.
I find it interesting. Yes, everybody knows him, but I'm surprised from what we've seen of Donald Trump that to know him is to love him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, yes, but he has some favorable local media coverage in the New York Post, which is the tabloid media culture here has tripped up some of the other candidates
For years and years, right? I mean, he's been page 6,
yes,
right?
He knows. Yes,
Yeah.
he knows how to play the media game here. That has been a stumbling block for candidates like Bernie Sanders, and he's had some of his mega rallies here. But I mean, he never campaigns like any other politician. So what we haven't seen from him is the riding the subway and eating on Arthur Avenue and all the other kind of stunt stuff that the candidates have been doing for the past 3 weeks.
He doesn't have to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think that, so he could potentially sweep all 95 delegates?
I don't know. Well, it's the thing about the Republican primary in New York is you have to be pretty strategic about the Cruz campaign has been strategic about where they're campaigning and where they're looking for it, because you can really win districts in New York City with very few votes because there are so few registered Republicans in New York City, for instance.
Yeah.
So you can swing a congressional district with 200 votes or something. I don't know, it's that low,
Whoa.
but it's really so the Cruz campaign has been very smart the way they've been targeting areas, looking to just switch a few votes and pick up a congressional district, which is how the delegates are portioned out. So we'll see if that strategy proved winning. I don't think Kasich has really caught on here at all.
Now, you're saying, go ahead.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Donald Trump, known in New York, we all know he's going to do very well in New York. Does that follow through for the area, Connecticut, next week, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, New Jersey?
I don't know what's going to happen on the Republican side. Some of these states look like New York, and that like Pennsylvania is a closed primary. Also, I don't know. So, and the makeup of these states look somewhat similar to New York.
Just nearby is what I was, wondering.
Right.
Well, let me ask you on the Democratic side. So we've got 291 delegates at stake, a much bigger pot of gold there for the and again, this is Hillary territory. How much? What's the chances that Bernie could cut into it?
I don't think the question is Bernie going to cut into it. I think the question is what's going to be the margin. And then you start playing the expectations game. Like every poll for the past 3 weeks has had her leading by double digits, like 12 to 14 points. I don't think either of the campaign's internal polling shows her winning like that. I think they'd be thrilled to get into double digits. The question is, if she wins by 8, if she wins by 7, what's the narrative coming out of that? In terms of delegates, she will just have made Bernie's path even tighter, even more impossible. She will have gotten closer to winning the Democratic nomination. But what she wants to do now is kind of really just put this Bernie Sanders campaign to bed once and for all, to start looking beyond the convention, to put to bed any talk of a contesting convention. And if he gets in single digits, his supporters will claim that as a moral victory and continue to go and not start to unify.
Yeah, well, I know that's what she would like.
Yeah.
In fact, she said that, Jamie, if we have that Hillary bite from yesterday, where, she talks about here's her goal for today, right?
Yeah.
I am hoping to do really well tomorrow. I'm hoping to wrap up the Democratic nomination.
Now, what's she talking about? She can't. She cannot wrap up the Democratic nomination today. Mathematically impossible.
She can't, but again, say she wins by 15 points. I think that she can start to talk about it being over without seeming completely dismissive of Sanders and his supporters. If she wins by 7, I think that Sanders people will be furious at her and not want to come over if she starts to act like it's done. If he gets that close in her home state where she was elected twice as senator, where she beat Obama by 17 points.
Right.
But if she, like a major win here would, I think the sympathy will be on her side, and then the questions will be, what is Bernie Sanders still doing? What's the point anymore?
Well,
Why is he taking this fight all the way?
What about what she said last week, which is, in 2008, I went all the way to June the 3rd, and so Bernie Sanders, I understand if Bernie Sanders wants to do the same thing. Do you think she's going to change her tune like 180 degrees?
No, I don't think she'll ever. I don't think the words Bernie Sanders should get out of the race will ever come out of Hillary Clinton's mouth or anyone of her top campaign officials. But it'll start coming, I bet, from surrogates, and just in her positioning, she'll stop talking about him. She'll start to move ahead to a general election pivot, which is something she's been trying to do since March and keeps getting dragged back into primary issues like the minimum wage, to like a fierce battle with him, to another debate, like she'll and to a nasty back and forth that became personal, to having to talk about him all the time. She'll just drop him is what I think.
An interesting poll yesterday, which reflects on all of this, from the Wall Street Journal on the national level, right? There are two aspects of that poll I want to ask you about. One, the first is Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders in a virtual tie. Hillary Clinton 48, Bernie Sanders 46, nationwide among Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't show a lot of strength for Hillary Clinton, who at one time was considered the inevitable nominee.
Right. No, it definitely shows a big vulnerability, and this would be the Bernie Sanders argument to superdelegate. Like, if he loses New York, the next argument of how his path to the nomination exists is this superdelegate idea that he would convince them to flip, citing polls like that, saying, like, the truth is, like, voters don't want Hillary.
Mm-hmm.
And it does show vulnerability for her. She's not, this is not, they said it would never be a coronation, but I don't think they expected it like this with a little-known senator from Vermont. But the truth is still that in terms of the superdelegate argument, she can still say she's won 2.3 million more votes than Bernie. So I've talked to some superdelegates getting that pressure, getting calls from the Bernie people, and they say, like, that makes it a harder argument for him.
You know what? I just want to say in response to that. Because I do a lot of work on CNN, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have probably done 50 appearances with Clinton surrogates over the last month. In every single one of them, that person has used the talking point, she got 2.4 million votes, which is a total meaningless number. Because, as you know, the nomination is not decided by the number of votes you get. It's decided by the number of delegates you get. Now, if they say, let me just finish. If they say she's got 210 more delegates or 225, whatever it is, than Bernie Sanders, that's a legitimate point. But telling us, and you just repeated it, how many votes she's got doesn't mean anything.
Well, she is leading by 220 delegates, and they say that.
Well, why don't they talk about? I'm saying that's a legitimate argument, but they throw out this $2.4 million talking point, which everybody picks up and uses. It's a totally meaningless number.
I think what they're trying to do with that point is to show that it's not that she's got the delegate lead that makes it very hard for him to win, and this argument that the country really doesn't like her. It's to prove that there's no metric by which he is actually leading her. That's what they're trying to do there. I think like if you don't like that, like where can you point to that show, aside from this national poll? I don't know what a national poll really tells us, that Bernie Sanders is beating her.
How about the other thing in the Wall Street Journal poll, which is same poll, 56% of Americans have a negative opinion about Hillary Clinton, only 32% positive.
Well, that's definitely true. She has the highest negatives of anyone running for president besides Donald Trump or maybe Ted Cruz. So, that's a huge problem. That would be like the bulk of her vulnerability. And if she's in a general election against Donald Trump, I think that's why they are excited about that possibility, because it's the only person that's actually more disliked than she is in politics.
It is true. It is true. It looks like that Hillary's strongest argument right now or the strongest asset, I guess, right, is Donald Trump or Ted Cruz.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, wow.
Definitely.
All right, Annie, well, we'll see how the numbers roll out today. People are already voting. I'm sure the polls are open, aren't they? Yeah.
They are, yes. I think Hillary voted in Chappaqua this morning.
All right.
People are making their way.
But Bernie can't go back to Brooklyn and vote because he doesn't live there anymore. All right. Thanks, Annie. Always good to talk to you. Thank you. Annie Carney from Politico, Politico.com. What do you think? What's going to happen in New York today? Who's going to come out on top? Donald Trump, is he going to just crush everybody, pick up all 95 delegates? And can Bernie come close enough to Hillary to scare her? Could Bernie even win in New York? 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back.
Your progressive headquarters for the 2016 election. This is The Bill Press Show.
Taught him how to hit a baseball. Just like that. Say hi! How to hit a receiver. Nice. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. Taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment and the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the earth needs a good lawyer.
calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
Hey, just wanted to give you a little update here with 9 minutes ago before the top of the hour. Elizabeth Wydra from the Constitutional Accountability Center will be in studio with us at the top of the next hour to bring us up to date on the oral arguments yesterday in the Supreme Court about President Obama's executive actions on immigration reform. Yesterday we talked about what we're calling the Saudi papers, or the September 11 papers. These are the 28 pages of the Congressional Committee, the inquiry they called it, into intelligence agencies' actions at the time of September 11. It was chaired, the committee was chaired by then Senator Bob Graham and then Congressman Porter Goss, both from Florida. 28 pages of that report, which talked about any possible assistance that the 15 out of the 19 terrorists who were Saudi citizens may have received from either prominent Saudis or even the Saudi Arabian government. Those 28 pages have been kept secret for the last 14 years. Now there's a lot of building pressure to release them. Saudi Arabia says if you release those pages, we will sell off $750 billion in U.S. assets and drive the American economy into a spiral, death spiral. Yesterday, the subject was raised at our press briefing with Josh Earnest, and Josh says doesn't look like we would we would sign that legislation.
It's difficult to imagine a scenario in which the president would sign the bill as it's currently drafted.
Because he says, I don't think there's any basis to this, that it would put Americans at risk.
It could put the United States and our taxpayers and our service members and our diplomats at significant risk if other countries were to adopt a similar law.
So I invite you to check out thehill.com and my column for today. And Peter, we should tweet that out if we haven't already done so. I think the only reason for keeping those pages secret is that they might embarrass the Saudi Arabian government. And you know what? Too bad.
Yeah, right.
Too bad. September 11th, the wounds are still fresh. The families are still hurting. The American people deserve to know the truth. And even if it might embarrass the Saudi Arabian government, again, we deserve to know the truth. And President Obama should release those pages before he goes to Saudi Arabia tomorrow. Speaking of the president's schedule today, we'll check in, tell you all about that when we come back here.
Connect with The Bill Press Show on Twitter. Follow us at BP Show and tweet using the hashtag WatchingBP. This is The Bill Press Show.
Hey, how about it? Hour number 3 coming up, and we will dive right into the Supreme Court's arguments yesterday oral arguments on immigration reform. President Obama's executive actions. Elizabeth Wydra from the Constitutional Accountability Center will be here in studio with us. And we'll also talk to Errol Lewis, talk show host up in New York State, works also for CNN. We'll get his take on what we can expect from the big New York primary today, April 19. Stay tuned. Stay with us for hour number 3 coming up.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. My whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
And counsel.
This is the Bill Press Show.
In the next hour, Elizabeth Wydra, head of the Constitutional Accountability Center, joins us. Big day at the Supreme Court yesterday, and on the oral arguments in the case challenging the president's executive orders on immigration. She'll tell us all about it. Then we'll jump up into New York and talk to Errol Lewis, commentator also on CNN. President Obama getting ready to take off for a very important trip to Saudi Arabia, Germany, and the UK. He and the Vice President will get the daily briefing today at 10 o'clock. Then at 3 o'clock this afternoon, 3:05, the President heads out to Andrews Air Force Base. 3:20, he should arrive out there and board Air Force One for the flight to Saudi Arabia, with a stop on the way at Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany. Not even Air Force One can make it all the way to Saudi Arabia without refueling. We'll be back and talk immigration
This
with Elizabeth
is the
Wydra.
Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. My whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
I wanted to find a bank with a purpose. I wanted to find a place that would take my money and not use it to cause the financial crisis, but to fix the financial crisis and to help end income inequality.
The people that we employ are usually clients right off the streets. They don't have an account, but Amalgamated is willing to get that started for them.
Their reputation supporting the working man, I think, speaks for itself. This is a bank that cares for their customers, and I appreciate that.
We were able to access a construction loan through the bank's programs, and that loan has helped us house 28 families in the community.
Amalgamated is a bank that was started for and about working people.
Many of our customers have a deep commitment to advocating for social and economic justice. We share that commitment, and we're not afraid to stand up and say that we need to change some of the way that the country does business.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life and control our weather, but life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight. It's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean, but because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
It's on us to stop sexual assault.
To get in the way before it happens.
To get a friend home safe.
And to not blame the victim.
It's on us.
To look out for each other.
To
not look the other way.
It's on us to stand up.
To step in.
To take responsibility.
It's on us, all of us,
to stop sexual assault.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
Broadcasting around the nation, on your radio, on your TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
All right, New York, New York. It's a wonderful town, and today it is the big site of the New York primary with 95 delegates at stake for the Republicans and 291 for Democrats. Yep, if you can win it there, you can win it anywhere. That's what they say. We'll find out. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Bill Press Show, Tuesday, April 19th. So good to see you. Hello, hello, hello. And we look forward to hearing from you as we tell you, bring you up to date on the news of the day. You tell us how it sticks with you. Give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. Send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show. And if you're watching on Facebook, you can, or following us on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. We're here with you on the radio nationwide, your local progressive talk radio station, and also coast to coast on Free Speech TV. Big news yesterday, the Supreme Court hearing oral arguments on the case challenging President Obama's executive orders on immigration. In the courtroom, we sent her down there just for us so she could talk about it to us today. The head of the president of the Constitutional Accountability Center and a good friend of the program, Elizabeth Wydra. It's great to have you back.
It's so great to be here.
So what I want to know is, first of all, you join our team here, Peter Ogburn and
hello.
The best of the best.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Well, the best of what he can get.
And that telephone number I gave you, that's how you talk to Ray Rogers, 866-55-PRESS, and Cyprian Bolding, of course. Look at this beautiful shot of the Capitol in
It's a
back.
beautiful
Isn't
day.
it gorgeous? Beautiful day. Cyprian Bolding, bringing us a little sunlight here.
I was saying, like Washington, D.C. gets probably like 5 or 6 perfect weather days every year.
Yeah.
No more than that. We're in the middle of them because like, it's going to be summer.
Exactly. And then like humid and
yeah, it's like we're going to be in summer.
Raining, it's cold or something. Yeah, but yesterday
was
and
perfect.
the day before,
the weekend was nice. Yeah,
got flowers.
I know it's happening.
Yeah.
But you watch next week; it's going to be 95 degrees.
Now, as president of the Constitutional Accountability Center, you may be called upon to defend Ben and Jerry, who got arrested yesterday. You know
I know, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would just
bailed them out in ice cream.
Would you work for ice cream? I would.
They were here in our studio. They left behind this Bernie sign, which was made by volunteers up in Vermont, and they left our studio to go directly to the U.S. Capitol and get arrested, which
Bill,
they did.
I hope that I don't get arrested leaving your studio. That's all I can say.
We now have police officers stationed in front of the building because they know that anybody who leaves this show is probably broken the law or about to.
Clearly a rabble rouser.
I have a feeling it wouldn't be the first time that someone left this studio and then got arrested. I'm not talking about former producers of the show either.
I'm saying nothing about this.
I was just thinking fast.
Stories from your personal vault.
Okay. Well, Donald Trump, one last rally, before the vote starting last night up in the Buffalo area, and he talks about September 11. He just kind of goofed up last night when he mentioned it. Classic Trump faux pas. Here he is.
I watch our police and our firemen down on 7-Eleven, down at the World Trade Center right after it came down. And I saw the greatest people I've ever seen in action.
A 7-Eleven? I bet you he's never been in a 7-Eleven.
You're right about that. Like that is like a classic Bushism, right?
Yeah.
Like we miss George W. Bush so much.
Yeah.
But that is something that George W. Bush would have said. It's kind of I'm almost nostalgic.
Yeah.
Almost.
Everybody can goof up a little bit anyway,
That's
once
true.
in a while. So Elizabeth Weider here, but tell us all about the Supreme Court hearing yesterday. And then Errol Lewis, you see him on CNN, talk show host up in New York, will join us to talk New York primary at the half hour. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
Yes, indeed. Just a couple of other stories making news. Now that Donald Trump clip that we just heard happened in Buffalo, New York at a little rally he had last night. The big story there, not only the fact that he confused 7-Eleven and 9/11, but he was introduced by Rex Ryan, the head coach of the Buffalo Bills. Yeah, I didn't know he was such a big Trump supporter. We know that Donald Trump's best friend is Tom Brady from the New England Patriots, so who would have known that one of their rivals, the head coach of the Bills, Rex Ryan, would show
it's
up.
interesting that he'd get involved in politics.
I'm just amazed at any time that someone mainstream comes out and supports Donald Trump, and will show their face on the same stage as Donald Trump. I still get a kick out of it because it's remarkable. It really is. The latest issue of National Geographic magazine warns against something that you might not think of. You might be loving Yellowstone National Park to death. There are so many people who are going to the park that they're having a problem keeping everything up. 4 million visitors every year. It's stressing the park's ecosystem. And on top of that, private lands around the park are now being more and more developed. So if you have somebody who builds a property just outside the park, you have to, build a property, get internet, get all, power and things like that, and it totally disrupts everything that was normally there. So it's a great, big, long piece of National Geographic that takes a look at the whole thing. It's worth reading. We'll tweet out a link so you can read some of the details at BP Show.
I'm sure that's true of other national parks as well.
Yeah, but this is one. So they put up the Smokies are the most visited, but the difference is the Smokies are a lot bigger. So you have a lot different. There are a lot more ways for you to get in, and you sort of drive through. But the Yellowstone is so sort of condensed into that area that we're loving it too much.
And so gorgeous.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And over the weekend at the White House, the president had a little gathering for the Brothers Keeper Youth Initiative, where he had rappers show up. Nicki Minaj, Busta Rhymes, J. Cole, Wale, Jamie, your favorite, DJ Khaled was there. But also there was rapper Rick Ross. There was a little bit of a faux pas, because Rick Ross was there in a fancy suit, but the suit also covered up the ankle monitor he has to wear as a condition of his release in a kidnapping case. Well, the problem is, during a silent part of when Obama was speaking, the ankle bracelet beeped. So everybody turns and looks at Rose as he's standing there in his suit and his ankle bracelet. And nobody said anything, but everybody heard it. It was just one of those things they acknowledged and moved on. So next time you go to the White House, Bill, make sure you put your ankle monitor on silent.
I always do that before I go through.
Got to.
Before the briefing starts. All right, Elizabeth, now I want you to know that, so Sunday morning, Carol and I took a little power walk down the mall to Washington Monument and back, and as we were walking back, this is Sunday morning now, about 10 o'clock, walking back across the Capitol Plaza and right up East Capitol, right by the Supreme Court, there were people camped out there. Some of them had been there Saturday night as well, already about a dozen people lining up for seats in the court yesterday. Were you one of them?
I was not. If you're a member of the Supreme Court bar, you have a separate line that you can go into in a separate section.
You were camping out in a different part of the of the plaza.
Well, lawyers, don't camp out as much. So, but I will say for this case, there were lawyers in line at 3 or 4 in the morning, and that is very unusual.
Wow.
Yeah. It just goes to show how, this is an incredibly important case.
So when you show up, are you guaranteed to have a seat, or how early do you have to get there to get a seat?
So there are the seats in the courtroom, and then there's also the lawyer's lounge, which is a special place, which is much less fun than it sounds.
I was about to say that sounds awesome.
It sounds great. It just means that you get to hear everything that's happening.
But you don't see. There's no
right,
or is
but
there?
But
is
you
there
can't
video?
see. Oh no, it's
No.
the Supreme Court. They don't allow cameras in the courtroom.
Right.
Lots of people are trying to change that.
Yeah.
But you can talk to each other and make faces, which obviously you can't do in the courtroom.
In the
we have
courtroom,
decorum,
right? And you hear all.
Oh yes.
All the things. Okay.
Yes.
Now here's the deal: for these people, the public, how many public seats for the public are there?
Oh, very few. And that's a real point about.
And they rotate them in and out, don't they?
Some of the seats are rotated in and out. It depends on the case and how many sort of special guests get tickets. But it can be about 50 people even, 150 to 100 people. And you're talking about, in this immigration case, a case that affects millions of families. And so, that is a very good argument for at least having live audio, if not, cameras in the courtroom. So the American people, so everyone can be a part of this without having to wait in line for 3 or 4 days.
I'm surprised there are even 50. Okay, how did the so first, what's the guts of the case, and then I'll ask you how the arguments went. But guts of the case.
So this program that the president put forth is deferred action for parents of American citizens or lawful permanent residents. And it's sort of the second executive action after the DACA Dreamers
so this
program.
Is DAPA, right? They
exactly,
call it.
DAPA. Yeah. So it's for parents of people, of American citizens or lawful permanent residents. And it was challenged and basically put on hold on the eve before it would have gone into effect. And it's been on hold from this very anti-Obama administration judge out of Texas. And the question is whether the president was within his authority, within his discretion, to ask DHS to, on a case-by-case basis, defer removal for these parents. And, our argument, I filed a brief on behalf of bipartisan former members of Congress. So we had Republican and Democratic members of the House and the Senate come in and say, look, we wrote the laws. Congress gives the executive broad discretion over immigration enforcement priorities because we only give you funds to deport about 400,000 people a year, and there are approximately 11 million immigrants who are here without documents. And so given that, the executive has to make priorities, has to say who is more of a priority to remove from the country. And the Obama administration, rightfully, common sense said, we're going to focus on people who pose a security risk, who have a criminal record, and we're not going to deport hardworking immigrants who are here with families, who have citizen children, who are giving back to the community. That's just common sense, and it's within the discretion that Congress gives the executive in its laws. So the Supreme Court was taking up Texas and a bunch of other conservative states' challenge to the Obama administration's program.
And the administration's argument, I guess, and your argument was this is within the president's executive authority.
Exactly. So the question really is, there were a lot of legal issues that came up in the court yesterday. And I will say, there were a lot of tough questions asked by the justices, but I would expect no less from the Roberts Court. They're very active questioners. But the Solicitor General, arguing on behalf of the Obama administration, did a really great job of pointing out that Congress gives this discretion. The Supreme Court has recognized, you might remember the Arizona SB 1070 Show Us Your Papers case.
Oh, yeah.
In that one, in an opinion for the court, both Chief Justice Roberts and Justice Kennedy joined the more liberal justices to say the executive has broad discretion when determining who it should focus its removal resources on, and it can take into account humanitarian concerns. It can focus on people who are a security risk rather than hardworking immigrants.
Yeah, we always are cautioned about reading too much into the arguments, but immediately after the hearing yesterday, the media seemed to indicate, oh man, Obama's in trouble, man. This, if the questioning is any indication, boy, this is not going to fly.
Yeah, well, I've been doing this a while.
Yeah.
And let me say, I think that happens after almost every big case.
Yeah,
It happened after the Affordable Care Act cases. Actually, it happened after that SB 1070 case.
It did too, right?
You know, and look, the justices...
And they all turned out the other way.
Exactly. And the justices aren't going to come in, especially when you're talking about someone like Chief Justice Roberts, who, you know, is a conservative, but sometimes does follow the law and vote for the Obama administration. He's not going to come in and say, okay, you're right.
Yeah.
We're getting rid of this case.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to ask questions. And that's what judges do. They probe the limits. They probe the scope of their potential opinion by asking hard questions. So the fact that there were these tough questions asked, that's just how things work. It isn't a sign that, you know, things are necessarily going one way or the other. And I think the more important thing is not whether there were tough questions asked, but who had the answers. And having sat through that argument, the only side that had good answers was the Solicitor General arguing on behalf of the Obama administration. There was even a moment where the House Republicans got 10 minutes of argument time.
Yeah.
And, you know, that just came across as kind of your primetime talking points, you know, not based in law and fact. And you had that kind of political theater, which is really what this case is. You know, it's a political dispute dressed up in litigation clothing, which is, you know, something that Chief Justice Roberts in particular does not like the court being used as a tool of the political parties. And, you know, in contrast to that, you had the Solicitor General saying, look, here is law, precedent, fact, all on our side.
Well, on that point, the Chief Justice has actually spoken out about the politicization of the court, hasn't he?
Yes. This is a big issue.
We don't want
for
the court to be seen as political.
Exactly. And this is, you know, one of the legal issues is this a kind of technical argument about standing, whether Texas can even challenge DAPA in the first place, because they don't really have a stake, and that's what courts really want. Because this is really just a political dispute. They don't like what the president did, but that's not how you get into court. That's how you try to win in the political arena.
Right.
And they have lost on this. You know, the American people support DAPA. They want comprehensive immigration reform. And so conservatives lost in the political arena. Now they're trying to achieve through the courts what they couldn't through democracy. And that's just not how Chief Justice Roberts views the courts. That's not how the courts should be used.
Right. Supreme Court on immigration reform. Is this going to stand the test of time? I guess there are two questions. Will President Obama prevail? And also, will there be time left if the Supreme Court rules in his favor to actually put this program in place? Because it's been on hold for a year or so. 866-55-PRESS is the toll-free number. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.
Can't catch the entire show? Listen to BP in 3, where we turn 3 hours into 3 minutes. Find it every day at BP Show on Twitter or at BillPressShow.com.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. The strike zone. The net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
She calls me googly eyes.
You know you're beautiful, right? You know that?
Even you are beautiful. I got bullied for wearing glasses. Share if you're against bullying.
We put it out there, just took off. 3 million people have shared this post. Don't let bullies get you down. I stand with you. The whole family's wearing glasses. I wear glasses and I'm proud.
I even have have the army on my team.
All the kind comments brought my child joy. I don't feel thank you is enough.
Thanks.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
This is the Bill Press Show.
27 minutes after the hour with Elizabeth Wider from the Constitutional Accountability Center. Very little time left. So what is happening on the Merrick Garland front? Any hope of getting a hearing, a vote?
Well, hope springs eternal for me. And certainly the public wants the Senate to give Judge Garland a hearing and a vote.
Do their job.
Do their job. I mean, look, we have to do our jobs. If you didn't do your job, we'd just be sitting here in an empty studio.
That's right. Radio silence.
Right. Exactly.
That's
literally.
Right.
So, the American people want the Senate to do its job and to give a hearing and a vote to someone who is unquestionably qualified. And, you haven't really seen any of the senators quibble about him. They just want to deny the president the ability to put a nominee. But, the Constitution gives the president the right to nominate justices when vacancies arise, and there's no exception in the language of the Constitution for an election year or anything like that. The president is the president up until the very last day of his term, and it's just frankly irresponsible to leave this vacancy open for so long, because I think what people don't sometimes remember is that if we wait till the next president, that means that you probably wouldn't get a Supreme Court nominee on the bench until April 2017. That's 2 terms without a properly functioning Supreme Court, and that is just wrong.
Could the president make a recess appointment?
He certainly could. He could have done that actually earlier, but he didn't. And I think, he is doing his job. He expects the Senate to do its job. So the Supreme Court can do its important job.
All right. Chuck Grassley, are you listening? Thanks, Elizabeth. Thanks for coming in.
Great to be with you.
All right. We'll find out what happens in June.
This is the Bill Press Show.
The most important issue on this planet right now is to protect and conserve biodiversity in the world's oceans. And I don't think people realize just how intimate our connection is with the oceans themselves. Not only do they provide the very foundation of life, and control our weather. But life just simply could not exist without a healthy ocean. The real problem, though, is apathy. It's all out of sight, it's all out of mind, and people don't even think about it. But it doesn't matter whether you live in Peoria or on the coast. The fact is, whatever happens in the ocean affects all life forms on the planet Earth. If the oceans die, then civilization collapses. We all die. We cannot live on this planet without the oceans. This is, in fact, not the planet Earth. It's the planet ocean. But because we're a land-dwelling species, we refer to it as Earth. But it is the planet ocean, and the oceans are the heart and the foundation of all life on the planet.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek, Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act. Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 Your place to talk about the 2016 election. This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, here we go now. 33 minutes after the hour on this Tuesday, April 19, big primary day in New York State. It is the Bill Press Show coming to you live from Washington, D.C., our nation's capital. Our studio on Capitol Hill, where we're brought to you today in part by Amalgamated Bank. Yeah, a bank with progressive values. Actually, sounds like a contradiction, doesn't it? Well, it's not. In fact, for nearly a century, Amalgamated's been the first choice bank of progressive organization and individuals nationwide. Check them out at amalgamatedbank.com. You know, these days, you very seldom walk into a brick and mortar bank. You can do all your banking online at Amalgamated and be a proud progressive at the same time. Check them out again at amalgamatedbank.com. Well, you hear him on the radio in New York. You see him on TV almost every morning on New Day on CNN. Our good friend and my colleague now at CNN. Errol Lewis joins us on our newsline from New York. Hello, Errol. How are you?
Good morning, Bill. How you doing?
Hey, good to catch up with you again. So Hillary says she's going to wrap it up today, Errol.
Well, I don't know if that's going to happen. She's polling very well. My organization, New York One, did a poll a couple of weeks ago that showed her about 12 points ahead.
Yeah.
Recent polls since then by CBS and a number of other groups put it right about there, double digits.
I think the average, the real clear politics average is 12, isn't it?
Yeah, that's about right. And of course, the shadow looming over all of this is Michigan, right, where she was ahead by 21 points and then lost the state by 1.2, by a point and a half about. So anything can happen. On the other hand, if you read between the lines, Bernie Sanders is not going to be giving or holding or I should say attending the results party or whatever it might be here in New York. He's going to be in Pennsylvania. So, if there was going to be a major upset that he was sure to pull off, or if he thought he was going to pull it off, I think he'd want to be here. So I'm reading that as maybe the Sanders camp is acknowledging that in our proportional system here in New York, where, it's not winner take all, that they're going to come close but not do better than her. And, of course, that's a problem when you're behind in the pledged delegate count as he is.
Right. Now, there are a couple of strikes against Bernie in New York. I mean, first of all, Hillary is from there, elected there. Not from there, but lives there, elected there twice, right? Beat Barack Obama there pretty handily in 2008. And then it's a closed primary. And if you were an independent and wanted to vote in the Democratic primary, you had to make up your mind and do that last October.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes. We have about some of the worst and most restrictive rules and laws you'll find anywhere.
Yeah.
And it's a real shame. It's a real problem. It's one of the things when people like Bernie Sanders and, frankly, Donald Trump complain about it, I usually chip in a newspaper column or some other kind of statement urging them to really take that seriously and win or lose, push for some rules changes. I mean, if we only got that out of it, it would be a huge gift to posterity and to democracy and to the people of New York. But as usual, these issues come up and people say, "Hey, it's hard for me to win," and then the election comes and goes, and then we're stuck with the same lousy rules after the election. I mean, it's pretty hard to get on the ballot, to stay on the ballot, and to organize people in a way. I mean, look, we are 46, I think, out of the 50 states as far as voter participation. There's a reason for it, and I think you just described a big part of that reason.
Yeah, and what I think is not good for New York, but it's also not healthy for the party in the sense that the Democratic Party needs these independents, right, and should be cultivating them and encouraging them to participate rather than locking them out.
Well, here's how it works. We've got about, I was looking at the numbers just yesterday, there are about 5.2 million registered Democrats in New York State. There's something like 2.4 million registered Republicans, and or I should say 2.5, 2.6, and then 2.4 million all the other parties. So that's the Green Party, the Working Families Party, the Conservative Party, and the Independents. And, the Democrats, I think, have enough of a registration advantage that they don't particularly care overall, if you're talking about a statewide race like today is, whether or not they have reached out to the independents or whether they've shut them out. So holding them at arm's length has worked pretty well and enables the Democratic Party itself to have a bit of a stranglehold on a lot of the offices. And until they have an incentive to do otherwise, I think they're going to continue to ignore and twist the rules to the detriment of the independents.
So if looks good for Hillary on the Democratic side, for Donald Trump, New Yorkers obviously know him. That's his base, right?
Yeah.
They know him from the pages of the New York Post, if nowhere else.
Yes.
But apparently, to know Donald Trump is still to love him in New York.
Kind of, sort of. I mean, I was talking with some Republican consultants yesterday, and they were joking about how the polling shows him he's going to get clobbered in his own assembly district, like the people who literally live closest to him.
Yeah.
Apparently, the polling shows that they're like 8-2 against him or something. But he is this is really going to be sort of a microcosm of the Stop Trump movement. If the Stop Trump movement is going to show any legs at all, today would be the day to do it, because really what his co-chairs have predicted is that he's going to get all 95 delegates that are up for grabs here, which you can do if he wins at least 50% of every congressional district, which is kind of hard to pull off. And the other candidates have been here gamely trying to sort of snatch a delegate here or there. But this is going to be, after losing 5 straight contests and having delegates kind of bled away from him, this is supposed to be Trump's return to the leadership of the Republican race, and so he's hoping for a big win here today.
You know, all eyes on New York today, Errol, but of course, starting tomorrow, we'll be looking ahead to Pennsylvania, Connecticut, New Jersey.
Yes.
I've always wondered, like the New Jersey vote, is it sort of resentful of New York, or is it likely to reflect New York?
Everybody around here resents New York. It's part of the charm of New Jersey. I mean, look.
I never heard those two words together, New Jersey and charm.
We have considerably more people in New York City than in the entire state of New Jersey. So we dwarf them in size and economy and everything else. On the other hand, they have a distinct political culture for sure, and New Jersey is a winner-take-all state. I mean, if you just look at the two governors, Andrew Cuomo and Chris Christie got elected more or less around the same time, I think within a couple of years of each other. So these are two electorates that see leadership and the needs of their state very, very differently.
Right. I wanted to. We talked earlier about and if you're not up to speed on her congressional race, I understand. The Zephyr Teachout, who ran against Cuomo last time and had a surprisingly strong showing, now running for Congress, right? And the reason I mentioned it, I'm on Bernie Sanders' email list, like everybody else is in the world's, I think, email list, and I get pitches from Bernie to send money to Zephyr Teachout. What's up with that?
So he is helping out the Democrats.
Yeah. I pointed that out on CNN last night. I said, I don't know where you've been, but I got all these emails. She's not the only one, but is that a New York City race? Do you know? Or
it's actually the suburbs north of the city, and but these are the suburbs that include. People forget outside of New York City. Yes, they are probably not quite as liberal as in the city, but it's a district that includes places like Woodstock. Where the counterculture kind of never left.
So we're talking up the Hudson Valley?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And so she grew up in Vermont on a pig farm, or I should say on a farm, and had a pet pig. And so she's culturally kind of in sync with a lot of that. And so that's her starting point. It's going to be a very tough race for her. It's a real swing district.
Oh, it is, right.
Yeah.
Now, back to New York, one thing that I think that has struck me is there's no doubt. I mean, I saw this morning again, the Democratic establishment in New York, from Bill de Blasio to Christine Quinn to Charlie Rangel to Chuck Schumer, everybody. I mean, they are solidly behind Hillary.
Yeah, the big blue machine. I mean, they will fend off the conservatives in November, and everybody likes that. But when it comes to progressives versus the regulars kind of know what they're doing. I mean,
but de Blasio, right? They were against de Blasio, and he beat them, but now he's joined them.
Well, yeah, the thing is, there's a certain amount of practicality once you have control of government, and I think that's really what unites all of the people you just listed. I mean, Charlie Rangel's been in Congress for 40 years,
Right.
I mean, these are folks who have a very long-term view. Chuck Schumer is on track to become the majority leader of the U.S. Senate,
right.
And so they're patient. They wait. They don't jump at every little insurgent trend that comes along, even though many of them were once insurgents, and that would go for Bill de Blasio too, who I met when he was the volunteer coordinator for David Dinkins when he ran for mayor in 1989. This guy's been at this for a long, long time. And he's not going to risk or endanger what he has built over the decades for the sake of a symbolic showing, because nobody here, I think, has shown convincingly that Hillary Clinton is at risk of losing either today's primary or the nomination.
Yeah. Well, now finally, I just have to thank you for one thing. I have never seen or never enjoyed a crowd more than the crowd that was at last Thursday's debate at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. You know, that
yeah, that was a real welcome to Brooklyn moment, you know?
Oh, boy, was it ever.
And I'll tell you the funny thing, Bill, I've spent like 10 years doing all kinds of different debates for every little minor office you can imagine.
Yeah.
And some of them are some pretty ugly scrums. And I was thinking, okay, I'm finally on the national stage. Big issues, war and peace, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And it was about as funky as any debate I've ever been a part of.
It was. I'll never forget that, and I'm sure she will not forget. Hillary Clinton at the end, after Bernie finishes his closing remarks, and the crowd starts chanting, "Bernie, Bernie," and she's standing at her podium. There's nothing she could do, right?
Yeah.
It was like she was at a Bernie rally.
Basically, it was in fact a rally, you know, and it was loud. I mean, I'll tell you, I've been in you've been, I'm sure you've broadcast in lots of different situations. Yeah. I've been in situations where I couldn't hear what the candidates were saying. I've never been in a situation where I couldn't hear what I was saying. That's how loud it was.
Yeah. Well, you did a great job at that debate. It was so great to have you on stage for that.
Thank you very much.
Made us all proud.
All right.
Thanks, Harold. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'll see you up at Time Warner Center one of these days again.
Okay, have a great show. Thank you.
Man. Thank you. Harold Lewis does a great job. New York One and CNN. We'll be right back.
Follow us on Twitter @BP Show. This is The Bill Press Show.
It occurred to me tonight, for the first time, that the long-winged insect that over and over again rams its body into the wood of my front door might not know what he's doing. He might not have a plan. Maybe that's just how he flies, and that is where the door is. And I remember you. The last time I saw you, a few weeks before we would graduate from high school, and a few days before you let a bullet dissolve on your tongue, dancing in a warehouse rave, sweat-drenched and strobe light battered, thrashing your arms back and thrusting them forward. The floor could get so bright and loud, we all slowed down to be more careful, but you kept dancing full sprint tornado, and sometimes you'd spin full weight into a wall and just spread your arms against it and sway back and forth like a lover reunited. This long-winged insect is not trying to get into the house. It doesn't know there is a house. Can't imagine a life beyond that door. All it can see is the light. You and I were both 17 when you died. And ever since then, I have envied you. How you are remembered for towering, unclaimed potential instead of living to look regret in the face. You didn't have to come home 3 weeks later and explain to your little brother why you took too much medicine. Your addiction is remembered as a tragedy, not a betrayal. Your suicide attempt became a suicide, not an unpaid hospital bill. And only tonight did it occur to me that maybe that night when you let your teeth touch metal, you might not have known what you were doing. You might not have had a plan. Maybe you had hit that door so many times you couldn't imagine it might let you through. I'm still ashamed to admit it, but I have always secretly believed you did it for me, that you wanted to show me that there is a way out of all of this. Not so that I would follow you, but so I would understand that every day that I am alive is a day that I choose to be alive. And when the music stops, you still get to keep on dancing. And when the light is so bright it blinds, you can dance with your eyes closed. And if in that dark you come up against a wall, you keep your arms out wide and you dance with the wall.
Go now at 11 minutes before the top of the hour. And just want you to know, I've got that other job these days on CNN.
Yeah.
So I'll be putting my other hat on a little bit later today. Between 5 to 7, 2 hours I'll be on, and then back again at 9.
Bruh.
No.
That's late.
Whoa.
It's
Sorry.
late.
11.
Oh.
No, not at 9. 11. And then on from 11 until 2 a.m. Wednesday morning. Right.
I'm sorry.
But I'll be here regular time for our show on a Wednesday morning. So, I don't care what Ariana says in her new book about sleep. I don't get any. So, boom. There you go. Anyhow.
Oof.
All right. Yeah, I'll tweet that out, but just want you to know that's the schedule for today. And I do think CNN does the best job of covering these primaries and these elections with the entire team there. And according to their countdown clock, or I should say maybe our countdown clock, it is only there's only 7 hours, 9 minutes, and 29 seconds before coverage of the New York primary begins. Getting off politics for just a little bit, a couple of other stories we want to catch up on before we wrap up for today. Out in Flint, Michigan, the residents there are still struggling. They can't drink the water, but they are still drinking bottled water, but they've all been given filters, Arthur Delaney told us earlier. They're told they want them to run their water to clean out the pipes and then put the water through these filters, and then they can possibly drink it. And the governor of Michigan, yes, he is still in office, Rick Snyder, whose administration is responsible for this whole mess of lead in the water in Flint. He said he's going to do his share from now on. Even though he doesn't live in Flint, he's going to be drinking nothing but Flint water.
We're going to start drinking that tonight and do that for the next 30 days when I'm at work and at home.
At work and at home. Going to have it delivered. Delivered from Flint, put through the filter, and there he goes.
Good luck.
Lots of luck
I
with
guess.
that. Yeah. And one other issue that we talked about yesterday, President Obama leaves today, actually, on an overnight flight for Saudi Arabia. And one thing he will not be delivering, probably, is a copy of those famous 28 pages, which have been kept secret ever since the Congressional inquiry into what happened at September 11. 28 pages, which reportedly document assistance that 15 of the hijackers, who were Saudi citizens, got from the Saudi government. Yesterday, Josh Earnest telling us at the White House briefing that there may be legislation in Congress to release those papers and to let the families sue the government of South Carolina, Saudi Arabia. But, Josh says, don't expect them to sign it.
It's difficult to imagine a scenario in which the president would sign the bill as it's currently drafted.
And Josh says because it could put some of our Americans at risk.
It could put the United States and our taxpayers and our service members and our diplomats at significant risk if other countries were to adopt a similar law.
When, in fact, it looks like the reason for not releasing those papers may be twofold. One, because Saudi Arabia has threatened to sell $750 billion in U.S. assets if that legislation passes. And two, because we're afraid it might humiliate or embarrass an old-time ally. Well, you know what I say about that? We don't need their oil anymore, so who cares if we embarrass the Saudis? The American people deserve to know the truth. On 2 occasions, President Obama promised to release those papers so the families of the victims of September 11 could have some peace of mind. I think it's long past time that he do that. We'll leave it right there. Come back with a quick parting shot about New York.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
You taught him how to hit a baseball.
Just like that. Say hi!
How to hit a receiver. the strike zone, the net. You taught him how to hit the upper corner. You even taught him how to hit the open man. But how much time have you spent teaching him what not to hit?
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
I grew up in the housing projects of Cleveland. I didn't even know that life could be any better than it was. Education for me has been a way to get away from the agony of what was normal life. I want to be able to impact the community, not just look back on where I came from, but to reach back to where I came from and pull some people up with me. My name is David, and I am your dividend.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
The Parting Shot with Bill Press. This is the Bill Press Show.
Yes, the New York primary today, and one thing to remember on the Democratic side, this is no doubt Hillary Clinton country. You might say the deck is actually stacked against Bernie Sanders. Look, Hillary and Bill live there, of course. She's been elected Senate twice, to the Senate twice from New York. She beat Barack Obama there handily in 2008. It's a closed primary. Only Democrats can vote. And independents, if they wanted to vote Democratic, had to make up their mind and re-register last October. So as we were just talking about with Arrow, it's a pretty closed system. I think what we're looking for in New York is not so much who wins, who loses, but what the margin is. If Bernie can keep the margin less than 10 points, that's a win, still a win for him. If he keeps it 5 or less, that's a big win. If he actually turns around and carries New York State, that is like Mount Vesuvius. That will erupt the entire Democratic primary. Let's see. We'll talk more about it tomorrow. We'll see you then.
This
is
the Bill Press Show.